everybody to the April board meeting of Lakeshore Public Schools School Board. If anyone hasn't had a chance to sign up yet, Mr. DJ, do you have one more song ready to go? If you can do one more song, about 3 minutes, come on up. Miss Hardy's here. I'll give last call for that, and then after the next song, we'll get the meeting started.
Could it be Barry Manilow? Could I make that request?
Always a good song, Mr. DJ. Thank you. We actually just finished our board workshop, but let's go ahead as we normally do. We'll stand with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty. And once again, board members, if we could introduce ourselves. Start down to my left, please.
Julie Powell.
Rachel Wade.
Griffin Ott.
Greg Eating.
Jason Beckrow.
Kevin Bushu.
Bill Scaletta.
Jeff Hannon.
Scott Allen.
Okay. First on the agenda is board workshop. So for members of the public who just got here, the Michigan Leadership Institute, company we actually have worked with for a number of years, has helped us recruit and retain 3, right? I've worked with 2 of the superintendent searches, but I think for 3. And we just had a wonderful board governance workshop. So thank you to all the board members for coming early, taking your time for the goal of how we best work together to lead this district. Thank you. Very proud to serve on this board with you guys. Next is the approval of agenda. The agenda is being broadcast behind us for members of the public. But board members, please take one final look at the agenda and let me know if you'd like any edits or changes, and if not, I'll accept a motion for its approval.
So moved.
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, next we'll move on to consent action items. Likewise, please take a look through there. Let me know if you'd like any changes or discussion. And if not, I will accept a motion for its approval.
So moved. Support.
Let's do a roll call vote, and we'll start with Ms. Wade.
Aye.
Mr. Ott.
Aye.
Mr. Bouchou.
Aye.
Mr. Scaletta.
Aye.
Mr. Hannan.
Aye.
Mr. Allen.
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Thank you. What do we have to next? We're just moving right along. Superintendent's informational report, Mr. Eating.
Thank you, and I just will start by saying thanks to Sue Hardy for putting together some food for us at the board workshop too. So thank you. Lakeshore Public Schools is doing some amazing work with and for our students. A group of students went to Germany for 18 days and had an amazing time of learning. That group is here tonight, and we'll get an opportunity to hear from us. We'll get an opportunity to hear from them directly, which is going to be awesome. Another Lakeshore group, the Lakeshore Band, traveled to Florida during spring break and was able to perform at Walt Disney World. I'm proud that both of these groups had the opportunity to take part in these great trips. In January, with COVID numbers spiking, we talked at length about the feasibility of even having these trips. And we just kind of kept holding on. And then to actually see them happen, and then to see the amazing experiences that our students had, that was really, really a lot of fun as a superintendent to see that happen. A huge thank you to the band director, Matt Pagel, as well as to teacher Amy Perkins for their work in organizing and managing these adventures for our students. Tonight, we will also get a chance to hear from J.C. Anderson, chairman of the Lakeshore Excellence Foundation. J.C. is a longtime supporter of all things Lakeshore, and he would like to share a quick update from the LAF, as well as a letter of support for the Lakeshore Board in the district when that time comes.
Cool. If I may.
Yes.
You have the next item, but
I do.
before we do, I'm really, really super excited. The next item on our agenda is good news about our schools. It's been over 2 years since we've been able to do this in a public forum like this. And again, I think we're just glad to be here. We have been through a lot these last 2 years. And to be on this end of things and see our students thriving, our top two priorities, student safety and student achievement, and here you are. So I'm really excited about the next agenda item. Mr. Eating, please take it away.
Yeah. 3 of the 15 students who recently traveled to Germany as part of the Sister Exchange program will give a presentation on their experiences. The floor is yours. I have a microphone if you want to come up.
All right. Yeah.
Oh, bro.
Hello everyone, I'm Grace, and I'm here with Ananya and Riley, and the 3 of us took part in the Sister Exchange program. SSEP was an amazing experience. For me, it opened my eyes to the scope of the world, to the scope of humanity. I know that's sort of an intense way to start, and it sounds a little floofy and abstract, but let me try and explain it better. There's this thought experiment called Mary's Room, and the premise of the experiment is there's this woman, Mary, who lives in a black and white room. In her black and white room, Mary learns everything there is to know about the mechanics of color. Factually, she is a color expert. Yet Mary has never left her black and white room and seen color for herself. One can factually understand that there are 7 billion people in the world all from culturally diverse backgrounds who speak thousands of different languages. But until one steps outside of their black and white box and experiences this, they can't truly understand the diverse scope of the world. SSEP gave me this vital understanding. The knowledge Mary gains as she steps into the world of color, that knowledge my companions and I gained through SSEP fundamentally cannot be taught in a classroom. Some things need to be experienced, and the world is one of them. Now I'll hand it off to Ananya to share some of the amazing experiences we had in Germany.
Thank you, Grace, for introducing us. Hi, everyone. My name's Ananya, and we wanted to share some of the cool opportunities we had while we were in Germany. So it's a no-brainer that we had a lot of fun with our partners and their friends, but we also got to visit a few places that helped us learn more about our research project. This year, our SSEP research project focused on renewable energy and sustainable development. So while we were there, one of the places we visited to learn more about this was a lignite open-cast mine. This was really impactful because we learned how people had to be moved out of their homes so the mining company RWE could mine there. Our group had a connection to this because one of our German friends, Charlotte, she's Riley's partner, Charlotte and her family were one of those families that had to leave their home and relocate. Near the mine, there was a group of environmental activists that were camping there to protest the company's methods, and we got to tour their camp and learn more about them. Another site we visited was a wind test area where there were prototypes of wind turbines, and we learned about them and how environmentally friendly they are, and we even got to go inside one of the turbines, which was super cool. So other than our research project, we also got to go to school with our partners, which doesn't sound like a lot of fun, like going to a completely different country just to go to school. But Germany's school system is very different from ours, so it was really interesting to experience. Their school day runs on a block schedule, so they have different classes every day. There were some days that my partner's school day ended at like 11 or 12, and then we were just able to go home after that. One thing I really liked about their school day is that they had a 20-minute break in the morning and like a 15-minute break around noon, where the students were allowed to go out into the courtyard, just relax a bit during the school day, and it made the school day a lot more easygoing. Another really impactful part of our trip, it wasn't during Mönchengladbach, but it was during our extension in Munich. We had the opportunity to tour Dachau, a concentration camp. So Dachau is a concentration camp that was created during World War II in 1933, and it was like the first concentration camp created. All the other concentration camps that came after were modeled after Dachau. When we first got to Dachau, it was a really emotional day for all of us. On the gate, there were the words, and forgive my pronunciation, but Arbeit macht frei, which means work sets you free. We toured the camp and we saw the cells where prisoners were kept, the roll call square and the barracks. The hardest part for me was the gas chambers and the crematory. There was a long building, and we got to walk through it. The first part of the building was where the prisoners were told that they were going to have a shower, and then the next part of the building was the room where all their possessions were collected, and then we actually got to go into the gas chamber. And that feeling of being there where thousands of people were murdered was a feeling that like I'm never going to forget in my life, and that's something that you just cannot learn in a classroom. Every high school student in Germany is required to make that trip to a concentration camp. There's a huge effort in Germany to recognize its violent and racist history because Germany realizes the importance of the younger generation learning about all of this so they can do a better job going forward, which is really cool to see.
Thank you, Ananya, for sharing your experiences at Dachau. I know it was an incredibly impactful day for all of us. I know myself personally was also impacted for the rest of my life after that experience. And also thank you for looking back at some of the other experiences we had in Germany as a whole. You can imagine the difficulty of trying to facilitate these experiences during a pandemic, so we are incredibly thankful to Ms. Perkins, Mr. Yaksetter, and all of our German exchange partners for helping us create a safe and COVID-free environment. We tested nearly every day of our trip and followed all masking protocols while in Germany and reported any potential exposures we may have had. We knew that our health was not just about us and our personal health state, but it was also about the safety of our entire group. On our 9th day in Germany, AKA Miss Perkins' birthday, my partner Charlotta got a text from her mom saying that her younger sister, Helena, had tested positive for COVID. She had been sick for a few days, so she tested every morning and every night, but did not test positive until that morning. So I was living in a home with someone that unfortunately was positive for COVID. Charlotta and I quickly tested at the school, and thankfully we both tested negative as a little birthday present to Miss Perkins. And our teachers helped place me with another family to live with my final days in Mönchengladbach. It was extremely hard to say goodbye to Charlotta and have to wave goodbye to only a few members of her family from a distance while I collected my things from her home. But thankfully, Malika, the student I was then moved with, was extremely welcoming, and her family gave me an incredible final few days in their town in Germany. And thankfully, long story short, we all left Germany with negative COVID tests and all in sound health. COVID testing, though necessary to our safety, produced a lot of waste, something the Germans were hyper aware of, maybe more so than we are here in America. And while we were in Germany, we noticed that Germans were dedicated to recycling and using renewable energy and finding ways to function as an eco-friendly society as a whole. Every time that we took a COVID test, we would separate our paper that came with instructions, we separated the plastic that the test came in, and we separated all of the waste that was produced that was considered biohazard. We then put all of our waste into 3 different trash cans that they had in every single classroom, home, public space, park. They had multiple trash cans, one for waste, which was like food, biohazard, etc., or things that can't be recycled, paper, and plastic. And they were adamant about making sure that all forms of waste were recycled in the proper ways. Other ways that they remain eco-friendly are Germans don't have air conditioning, at least as a whole, and they make that sacrifice because they know that if everyone in Germany had air conditioning, it would produce greatly to their carbon footprint, and they can live without it because their weather conditions aren't too harsh, kind of like we have here in Michigan. We also got a chance to see how some major industrial corporations, we visited a steel mill, and we also visited the B&W Museum, and to see these major corporations in industrial plantations took major steps to making their companies more eco-friendly and lessen their footprint with their waste. Being there in Germany and seeing how they cared for the environment, you felt like you were part of a community fighting for a better future for everyone, not just oneself and one's own personal goals. We also saw this community firsthand with the united support Germany is showing currently for Ukraine. Around every corner, no matter what town or city, small village, rural area you were in, you saw blue and yellow flags waving outside of homes, government buildings, restaurants, anything you could think of in support of Ukraine in their current situation. There were demonstrations in city centers, in some of the major cities, and even some of the smallest ones, showing their support of their European friends. There were posters and paintings in elementary schools. My host mom was actually an elementary school teacher, and we got to go in one night to print some papers for her students, and just the walls were adorned in peace doves and posters in support of Ukraine. And it was quite beautiful to see how young they teach these important events and how young kids are in support of the Ukrainian people. It also bringing this conflict right to their front door in Germany. Our host partners had Ukrainian refugees coming to live in their community to attend school with them so that they can continue their education during their times after being removed from their country. Needless to say, we were privileged to experience a pivotal point in European history in modern times, and we are forever grateful for SSCP for allowing us to go on that trip. I'm now going to pass it back on to Grace to talk more about the personal relationships we made during our time in Germany.
Yeah, so like Riley said, we were able to form some really strong connections with our partners, our host families, and even other students in the exchange. I'd like to offer a brief anecdote to demonstrate the kind of connection I formed with my host family. So while I was in Germany, I actually had my 17th birthday, and for my birthday, my host family decided to plan a surprise for me. and they told me it was going to happen on Friday. So the whole week I was like trying to pick up clues, figure out what they had planned for me. And during the week I figured out it would be like a 2-hour event with something like a little break in between. And I was like, ooh, what could this be? And I was thinking maybe it's like a show, maybe it's like a musical, and I didn't want to get my hopes up because that sounded really, really fun. So I was like, maybe it's some sort of laser tag thing if it's not a musical. I don't know. But they ended up taking me to a musical, and it was so fun and exciting. I'd apparently mentioned once to them that I really liked musical theater, and they just jotted it away. It was so considerate, and I had an amazing time. Me and the senior citizenry of Mönchengladbach were having the time of our lives. It's that kind of connection, that kind of consideration that really connected me to my host family, and I think a lot of other students on the trip had similar experiences. I guess I want to say before we wrap things up that it wasn't all cupcakes and rainbows, but it was mostly cupcakes and rainbows. There were some struggles, but by and large, not bad. So on behalf of the other students in the exchange and myself, I'd like to thank LEF, the Lakeshore School Board, Mr. Jochstetter, Mrs. Gottstein for her huge help in planning the trip, of course, Mrs. Perkins, and all the other wonderful people who helped make this trip possible. We'd now like to open up the floor to the board members to allow them to ask any questions they may have.
I think I know the answer, but you going to keep traveling? Yeah.
Yeah.
You caught the bug? Oh, good. Wow.
It was a great report. I don't really have any questions. You covered everything, but what a phenomenal trip and so exciting. You know, as Jason said, it's been 2 years since we've been able to have these type of events happening and have you here to share with everybody. And this is the great stuff that we should be talking about at every meeting. So thank you for being here. Thank you to all the administrators and Ms. Perkins and everybody that put this together. These are the kinds of things we want to hear about and that should be front page of the paper. So thank you.
I want to thank you for your resilience. These last 2 years haven't been easy, have they?
No.
Does this kind of make it feel like you've achieved something that you'll remember and be proud of?
Indeed, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for setting that example for us. Thank you.
Wow, we have some talented kids. Being able to stand up in front of a group like that and present in such a great way. On a personal note, very interested in the Germany trip because my mother immigrated from Germany many years ago, so it's kind of a personal interest of mine, and I was really excited to see the group go this year. Our next agenda item is an informational report from J.C. Anderson, chairman of the Lakeshore Excellence Foundation. J.C. is going to come up and provide a fantastic report for us to learn more about what the LEF has done this year, and I know he's going to read a letter of support as well.
Okay, thank you, Greg. I either got my back to the board or I got my back to the audience. So I'm going to kind of cut it in two here. Because to the board, this is really informational. To the audience, I see a lot of people out there that aren't members of the Lakeshore Excellence Foundation. And Mike, I'm looking right at you, okay? I know you got the money. You just got to help us. So pay attention. These are all the kind of things that you can do with the money. Make good investments. So first of all, and I wish I had a slide pitch or a pamphlet for everybody in the audience, but everybody up here has a pamphlet, so if you can just kind of follow along with me, I'll make this very quick, but hopefully informative. Now, don't read ahead. Don't read ahead. Stay on the first page. Stay on the first page here. It says major project investment, $720,000. I'm going to just let that soak in a little bit. $720,000. That is absolutely the largest investment the Lakeshore Excellence Foundation has ever made. It surpasses the auditorium renovation, which we just did last year, which was $660,000. So, you know, we're not talking $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 projects anymore. We're talking big, major, heavy-duty investments. So, okay, now if you can kind of open it up and get to, you know, fully open. We cross the top. We talk about 3 new major projects. And I got to tell you, there's something in here for everybody. So as we go from left to right, we have technology refresh. That hits our elementary students. That's K through 5. And here we're going to fund one-to-one technology for all students, K through 5. That'll be over a 3-year period, a $345,000 investment. Mike, I know you got that covered in one check for us, okay? Secondly, new teacher recruitment, new hires. You know, education and recruiting good teachers is becoming just like the business community. There's signing bonuses, there's incentives to sign for this district versus another district. So we are funding $50,000 a year over the 3-year period of time for up to $10,000 in signing incentives to try to get the absolute best teachers here at Lakeshore Public Schools. And then the third area, and to me this is a game changer more than any project that we have probably ever funded, this professional development for the current staff, teachers, administrators, going together to these conferences. Greg has actually been there. He's helped us understand this. But these professional learning communities, the training that gets done there, and then the opportunity to come back on late start Wednesdays and each and every week pry into, you know, what does this student need? What does that student need? So when we talk about individualized student training, teacher by teacher, this is the opportunity that we have, like we've never had before. So the combination, like I said, of this training over a 3-year period of time, and then late start Wednesdays, it all will come together. I probably shouldn't say this publicly, but I will. You know, when we make investments, just like we do at Whirlpool or any other business, we look for a return. So I said to Greg, I said, you know, Greg, when you're laying awake in the mornings and you're thinking about PLCs and, you know, what kind of commitment can you give us as far as, you know, some kind of material thing we can put our hands around? And Greg has committed very softly a 3% improvement in all the scores across kindergarten all the way through seniors, whatever tests those might be. But he whispered in my ear, more probable 5 to 10%. So that's what we're kind of banking on, the 5 to 10%, not the 3%. Remember that, Greg?
I do. And I will just say that I think it's a wise investment. I think it's the best investment that the LEF could fund for our district in the next few years, and it's really going to be a game changer for our staff and our students. It's super student-focused, even though it's training staff, but it's a student-focused, and very excited about that opportunity. And I just want to thank the LEF, thank the donors of the LEF for all of these projects. Beyond excited and humbled by the opportunity. So thank you.
Great. So if you not yet.
I was excited.
If you take the brochure, just fold it to the back. On the back, it talks about our mission. And our mission is to improve the educational experience of every student and staff member while also enhancing the community that supports our school district. So we want to do things for the community. This is a community auditorium. So we felt very good in that $660,000 renovation of this auditorium for the community and all that. So again, to those of you in the audience that aren't members of the Lakeshore Excellence Foundation, all it takes is a check. Whether it's a check for $5 or $500, you automatically become a member, and you can feel good then about all the things that the LEF is supporting for the Lakeshore Public Schools. So as long as I'm up here, again, I'll just let that $720,000 kind of soak in. But as long as I'm up here, there is a letter of support that I'd like to read publicly here. And we've got some Lakeshore Excellence board members in the audience here. I'd like for them to stand up as exactly. They're all over the place here, and over there's Julia and so forth. But I want to tell you, this is a all volunteer. Nobody gets paid a dime for this stuff. We do it because we want to. Do it because we want to make Lakeshore Excellence the best absolute, or Lakeshore Public Schools the best school that we can. And as students coming out of here, best education we possibly can provide. So we got 27 members on the board. Part of them are here, like I said, here to show our support. So here's our letter. Dear Board of Education, the Lakeshore Excellence Foundation, we'll shorten that to LEF, would like to take this opportunity to voice our support for the Lakeshore School Board. We recognize the time, the resources, and the effort that each of you put into your role as an elected representative of the school board. Being a school board member is not always the easiest of tasks. Issues arise in our community, and due to differing viewpoints, are difficult to navigate. As board members, the ability to listen to all sides, sort through the data, collaborate with experts in the subject matter, and keeping the best interests of our students, staff, and administration is very much appreciated. These qualities are essential for the school district, Lakeshore School District, to be successful. Each of you has made a big commitment to serving our community. Unfortunately, in our society, we mostly hear negative comments from people who do not agree. There are, however, many people in the community who believe you are doing a great job in a stressful environment. The LEF joins with that same sentiment and feels the school board is doing outstanding work. As a result, on April 7th, 2022, the LEF board voted unanimously, and with 27 people, it's hard to get everybody to agree on one subject, but voted unanimously to submit this letter of support to the Lakeshore School Board. Each of you brings a unique perspective to the board, and we appreciate the range of differences and experiences you all contribute. We are fortunate to have such a dedicated group of people leading our school district. Thank you for your service. Signed, J.C. Anderson for the Lakeshore Excellence Foundation. Thank you.
Thank you.
A standing ovation for the board, okay?
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's very much appreciated. And again, $720,000. Wow. Thank you. Let's hear it for the LEF. All right.
If I could, Jason, just
Please.
you know, we kind of rotate and take turns as board members. We have a liaison that gets has the privilege of sitting along with the LEF and to watch the work that goes on. And years ago, I've served on that and have watched the progress and the amount of energy and time that these folks put into these projects, and to see it go from initially it was a lot of more brick and mortar, right? I mean, we had the auditorium that was, to JC's point, it's a community location. We have the learning center now that has been done that the community can use. But in all of those years, I don't think there's ever been a program that's going to impact the students as a whole and our staff as a whole as much as this program that you've committed to now. So I want to commend you for not only raising the money and for providing opportunities for grants and everything else, but for really looking and listening and working with Greg and working with the administrators and understanding where that support really needs to hit the road and putting your money behind it. So thank you all for that.
All right. Yeah, thank you. Anyone else? We live in a great district, don't we, everyone?
Yes.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to Board of Education reports. I think first is Administrative Affairs. Mr. Ott?
The Administrative Affairs Committee met on Tuesday, March 29th. Present in the meeting were Greg Eating, Kevin Bushu, Jeff Hannon, and myself. The committee reviewed the MASB tool that is used for superintendent evaluations.
Okay. Facilities and Finance, Mr. Bushu.
On Tuesday, April 5th, the Facilities and Finance Committee met. Attendees included myself, Jeff Hannon, Mr. Eating, Tracy Althouse, Natalie Maserata, and 2 representatives from Perspectives Consulting. Items discussed. Tracy discussed the updated rental schedule for the field house, which will have walking track access beginning in the fall of 2022. Monthly cash flows, investments, and sinking fund information were presented. No concerns were noted. Various replacement schedules were also discussed. Tracy went over budget modification number 3, which will be presented this evening. And the ESSER 3 money is now available. Tracy has turned in the 11T application to the state. She presented what the funds will be spent on pending approval by the state.
Thank you, sir. Next is Policy Committee. Mr. Allen.
The Policy Committee met on Tuesday, April 5th. Present in the meeting were Greg Eating, myself, and Rachel Wade. Committee discussed Board Policy 5111, Administrative Guideline 5111, and Form 5111 that have to do with admission to the district. The policy and guidelines are both outdated and not consistent with enrollment requirements. The following is the recommendation for change to Policy 5111. Currently, Section G states, students whose parents do not reside within the district, but who present evidence that they will move into the district within a short period of time may enroll in the schools of this district as tuition students for the time not in residence. It is being recommended to change that to students whose parents do not reside within the district, but who present evidence that they will move into the district within a short period of time, may enroll in the schools of the district for the time not in residence. Tuition may be required if the student does not qualify for state funding during the time not in residence. Also, Section H currently states 12th grade students who have begun their work toward graduation from the district's high school and whose parents no longer reside within the district may be permitted to complete their high school education as tuition students. The recommended change is to change it to 12th grade students who have begun their work toward graduation from the district's high school and whose parents no longer reside within the district may be permitted to complete their high school education. Tuition may be required if the student does not qualify for state funding during the time the parent guardian is not a resident. Also, the following are recommendations for change to Administrative Guideline 5111. Currently states in Section A, proof of residency consisting of a deed, building permit, rental agreement, tax statement, voter registration card, or completion of Form 5111 F2B be changed to homeowner must provide a current utility bill and the name and address of the person enrolling the student, such as gas, electric, water, or cable bill. Mailing address must match the service address, and either a current property tax bill with the name and property address or purchase agreement if closing occurred within the last 6 months of the person enrolling the student. Also, a tenant must provide a current utility bill and the name and address of the person enrolling the student, gas, electric, water, cable bill. Mailing address must match the service address and the rental agreement with the name of the property address of the person enrolling the student. Also discussed was to remove Section C, which students without appropriate records will be admitted under temporary enrollment for a period of 10 days unless extended by the principal. Parents are to be so informed at the time of admission. And following recommendations for change to Form 5111, which is to remove Form 5111 F2A, replace that with Lakeshore Public Schools affidavit for student not living within parent guardian, and also remove Form 5111 F2B to be replaced with Lakeshore Public Schools affidavit for designation of decision-making authority.
Does anybody have any questions over any of those? Basically,
Can we
the
quiz Mr.
idea,
Allen?
basically the idea is we have enrolling students where the requirements for enrollment have changed and our policy has not kept up with that. So this is like basically changing the policy to match what we're doing. That's what it's doing.
Is this for first reading and then we bring back for approval, or are we just?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
This is first reading.
Ms. Wade was on the committee too. Any comments or?
No, thank you, Scott, for reading all of that.
Yeah.
That was a lot.
All right. Any other discussion, questions, board members? Mr. Scaletta?
Just one, Greg.
Yep.
The seniors, to qualify as a resident, does the other school have to sign off?
Always,
like they used
yep.
to?
Yep, for a schools of
that
choice
hasn't changed.
student. If they move in, it's a different story, of course, but yes.
Okay, gotcha.
And I guess just to clarify, because we had talked about it in the policy meeting, was the reimburse, asking them to be a tuition student really doesn't come into play too often, from what I recall you talking about, that it's usually, these cases are funded by the state.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, correct. We're changing the language so that it doesn't automatically state in the policy that we are requiring tuition. We're basically saying it if we don't get reimbursed by the state because of the reasoning for coming over doesn't match what they're going to allow us, then we would charge tuition as a student who's a non-resident.
Gotcha.
Very rare.
All right. Last call. Any further discussion? If not, I'll accept a motion.
So moved.
Support.
Let's do a roll call vote. Mr. Allen?
Aye.
Mr. Hannon?
Aye.
Mr. Scaletta?
Aye.
Mr. Boucher?
Aye.
Mr. Ott?
Aye.
Ms. Wade?
Aye.
And I'll vote aye as well. Mr. Eading, I'll turn it back to you for budget modification number 3.
Yeah, thank you. Our CFO, Tracy Althouse, is not able to be here tonight. She's not feeling very well and running a temperature, which I said, not a good idea to come to the meeting, Tracy. So I'm going to get us through the budget modification. I will just say that the major part of this budget modification is that we are now able to draw on our ESSER funds. So those have been approved under ESSER 3. There are still some approvals that need to be had yet through some subsections of ESSER 3, but now when you see the revenues coming in from federal, you'll notice the changes in that mark to be $442,000 change, which we are now then able to draw those monies for this budget modification. That's the biggest part of the entire budget modification that I can see, that we went over in our finance committee anyway. Otherwise, it's pretty straightforward. There aren't any other surprises that I saw in the budget modification. Any questions?
Mr. Boucher or Mr. Hannon, you think you were at the meeting? Any else to offer questions?
No, I think it was pretty straightforward.
It was.
Again, it's a matter of how it's listed as whether it's available or not. Some of the funds that were in here were listed. We didn't know when they were going to be available from the state.
Right.
We have to do an application for those funds. They're very restricted. So until the window opened where we could start drawing from those, they were kind of held in reserve as a placeholder within the budget.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion, questions? Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Support?
And we'll do a roll call vote. And again, I'll start on my left. Ms. Wade?
Aye.
Mr. Ott?
Aye.
Mr. Boucher?
Aye.
Mr. Scaletta?
Aye.
Mr. Hannon?
Aye.
Mr. Allen?
Aye.
I'll vote aye as well. Overnight trip? Where are we going?
Well, I noticed that teacher Tanya Jenke is actually in the audience tonight, which is excellent. We have a request from the high school DECA advisor, Tanya Jenke, for one student to attend the DECA International Career Development Conference in Atlanta, Georgia, April 23rd through 27th. Due to only having one student from Lakeshore attending, and with parental permission, the student will be joining the Battle Creek Lakeview High School DECA chapter.
Very cool. Any discussion, board members? If not, I'll make the motion on this one. Do I have support?
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Middle school mathematics.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Powell. Do you have anything you want to add to the mathematics materials purchase?
I said we're requesting board approval for the proposed 3-year subscription of math materials for 6th through 8th grades from McGraw-Hill in the amount of $49,475.78. This is the program we already use. It comes with Alex. So any of you who have middle school kids know that that individualized part of the total program of Alex allows students to log in very personally, do the skills that you have. It is their improved version of the same program. Not that the Alex per se is so different, but the textbook companies every 5-6 years do some upgrades. So we knew this was coming from math. A lot of subscriptions these days are 6-year or 7-year, and I could have done that for math. We chose 3-year, and I did that with the math teachers' blessings that we just want to be open to the idea. And frankly, I'm trying to outsmart the system in that I have science and socialized materials coming for 6 years too, and I don't want everything to expire in the same year for the future, for funding and everything. So this was a great piece of effort by them. And we've worked with this company before, so we know the quality. So this was a fairly easy overall purchase to recommend to you.
Remember when we first approved this several years ago, we were actually in the middle school.
Yes.
Having board meetings then.
Yes.
And phenomenal program. Any discussion or questions, board members? If not, is there a motion for this approval?
So moved.
Support.
And let's do a roll call vote. Ms. Wade?
Aye.
Mr. Ott?
Aye.
Mr. Bushu?
Aye.
Mr. Scaletta?
Aye.
Mr. Hannan?
Aye.
Mr. Allen?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Okay. We're now to public comment, comments and concerns. We have 8 people who are registered to speak tonight. They are Daniel Buckenmeyer, Diane Mahan, Amy Perkins, Dave Pazicki, Andrew Glisson, Tanya Jenke, Renee Donarski, and Michael Logan. So again, I'll read off the first. Up first is Daniel Buckenmeyer, then Diane Mahan, and then Amy Perkins. Is Daniel Buckenmeyer here? If not, I'll move on to Diane Mahan. And if Diane is not here, I'll move on to Amy Perkins. Then Dave Pazicki will be on deck, and Andrew Glisson after that. Ms. Perkins? How about a round of applause for Ms. Perkins? I remember being in your room just over 2 years ago on March 11th. On March 10th, we voted to approve a band trip to Walt Disney World, and we said maybe we should put an asterisk on that.
Yeah.
And then the next day, we were in your room determining if we could send. We had to cancel that trip, but your persistence led to that presentation, and thank you.
Well, that was a team. I think
Team.
some of the people in this room, like J.C. Anderson, LEF, the school board, the teachers, the parents, all of them were dedicated to making it a reality for our kids. So applause to all of you. I didn't plan to be the first person to speak, but apparently I scared the other ones away. I don't know. I wanted to, and I need to shorten this because that'll give me a step stool. I want to thank you for your leadership and your commitment to our district. Thank you for your dedication, even in the face of verbal attacks and libelous claims. Thank you for serving as a buffer for your teaching staff and absorbing the vitriol voiced by a handful of community members. And thank you for enabling me to educate our students by inserting them in conversations of global import. As you know, 15 students and I just returned from Germany. Our young delegation was actually the first cohort of US students visiting Germany in 2023 as part of the German-American Partnership Program. We were the very first ones, and everyone was watching. The experience for us was awesome, even life-changing, as some of them testified to at the beginning of the meeting. We witnessed with our own eyes the consequences of Russia's military aggression. Several Ukrainian refugees arriving at our sister school while we were there, enrolling, seeking a new home. Pro-Ukrainian flags hanging from apartments and city centers, and rallies calling for a greater intervention from NATO throughout our time, from Cologne all the way down to Munich. The consequences of war were all around us, even as the specter of historic conflicts haunted us. Just 9 days ago, we passed through the gates of Dachau. We peered into the cavernous, open cells, the prison cells, the gas chambers, and the crematoriums that expedited the death of nearly 32,000 human lives. We also inserted ourselves in a dialogue between corporate leaders and climate activists, inviting both parties to teach us about the complexities associated with a shift to renewable energy. We made lifelong friends, fortifying the transatlantic bond that first forged amidst the ruins of a world war, a bond that right now is central to the NATO alliance. Thank you, members of the school board, for allowing me the privilege to lead our students through Germany at such a critical time. I remain committed to our students and connecting them with the world and engaging them in critical and relevant conversations and challenging them to recognize their position as both Americans and as global citizens. You have shielded us from the drama associated with the anti-masking campaign, and I thank you for this act of selflessness. It's allowed us to do what we do best, teach. But if this anti-masking campaign pivots to a focus on social studies content, know that I am prepared to share the stage with you. The growing effort to ban books and limit free speech and rigorous conversation and debate in our social studies classroom is wholly inconsistent with the goals of public education. Our history classrooms cannot emerge as the latest victims of the growing polarization in this nation. And if the outspoken minority in this room or watching us online has concerns regarding the content we teach at Lakeshore, I invite them to engage me in a direct conversation instead of slamming well-respected teachers on a private Facebook page online. If they have something new to teach me, I am an eager student. But until they do that, I will defer to my master's degree, 3 university fellowships, extensive travel overseas, an expansive network of friends in the US State Department, academia, and the US military. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Perkins. Next is Dr. Dave Pizicki, then Andrew Glisson, and then Tanya Janke. Dr. Pizicki?
I'll try to be brief. It's a pretty simple message. I want to thank the board for taking your passion and making it positive and professional. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker is Andrew Glisson, then Tanya Janke, then Renee Donarski. Mr. Glisson?
Yes, hi. I'm Andrew Glisson. I've been up here before. I have 2 daughters at Hollywood. And first of all, I'd like to say Hollywood is a wonderful school. We've been thrilled with our time there. Mrs. Maserata is a terrific principal. Mrs. Peden is an absolute gem. And every teacher, every support staff that we've worked with there has been considerate and professional and thoughtful and most of all caring about our children and the other children in the school. It's been a truly wonderful experience. I moved here just about 9 years ago. My wife is from the area. She lured me here. So I was new to the area. I often defer to her to be my sort of liaison to the community because she knows the small town history much better than I do. I was excited to move here. When I got here, one of the things that I noticed was just how proud everyone seems to be of their schools here. And that's not just our district. I've seen it in the surrounding districts as well, but certainly in Lakeshore. The parents are very proud of the schools here, and they're very committed to them. And that was wonderful to see, and that made it easier to move here. So I thank you all for that. You know, it's been a rough couple of years, certainly. Of all the things I imagined living through, and I imagined quite a few, this wasn't one of them, so it did kind of catch me off guard. It's been difficult for parents navigating everything, just as it's been difficult for the teachers and for the staff, for the administration, and certainly for the school board. So I want to thank you all for getting through this and working with us. And you know, even before the pandemic started, I don't know if it's social media or just the times we live in, but it seemed to be a growing thing that people began to feel that the only way their voices could be heard was by being the angriest or the loudest. And you saw that quite a bit. And I'm certainly been guilty of letting my anger get to me too, but I don't think it's healthy for us as individuals or as a community. I think we have to work together. When I moved here, I never saw this as an us versus them type of community, and I certainly hope it still isn't. You know, I think we need to find a way where something other than outrage or fear has to motivate us, and we have to find ways to build things up and seek ways to work together. And the one thing this community has always agreed upon that I've been able to see is that we need good schools, and we need good teachers, and we need to support them. So I've been very pleased to live here. I've been very pleased to have my children attend Lakeshore. Certainly if one good thing has come out of all of this, it's that as a parent, I am certainly more committed to being engaged to the schools and the school affairs. And I have met so many other parents who feel the same way and who also agree that we need to build up our schools. We need to support our teachers. We need to support our administration. We need to support Mr. Eating, and we need to support our school board. So I thank you all for all of the hard work you've done. I know it hasn't been easy, but we do support you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next is Tanya Janke, then Renee Donarski, and then Michael Logan. Ms. Janke?
All right, thank you. I usually do not like to make generalized statements, but I think it's fairly safe to say that there's no one single answer or solution that's going to be right for everyone, especially when it comes to topics that are so much passion and are so close to our hearts. We have so many people with different personalities and different beliefs and different attitudes. And knowing that there's no one-size-fits-all answer to most decisions that our administration and our boards need to make sometimes, I thought I would take a minute to talk about perspectives. The path that each of us traveled to get where we are in life varies from person to person. Some of us have had similar experiences, which allows us to understand that particular point of view more easily than others. Because these paths are different that we've traveled in our lives, it stands to reason that we can all look at the same situation differently or have different opinions or beliefs. As teachers, we see many different personalities in our classrooms. Some of our students come to us with a variety of backgrounds, a wide range of beliefs, and an assortment of past experiences. And every day, we expect our teachers to accept each child for who they are, no matter what they believe or what they don't believe. And not only is it expected of them, but most of our teachers embrace those differences. As a school district, it's important to remember that one person's perspective is not more accurate than another. When our administrators and our board look at situations, it should be expected of them to look at all those different perspectives and to take them into consideration when they're making their decisions. Oftentimes, they're managing 5 different groups with 5 different personalities and 5 different perspectives, and they know no matter what they do or what they say, some people are going to be happy and some people are going to be upset. And because they need to look at those situations from so many angles and balance all the different points of view and then try to sort out the best case scenario, making everyone happy or satisfying is a task that's given to them, which we know is next to impossible to do. Perception is such a personal thing. It's the way each of us look at situations, and it's usually based on things like our past experiences, people that we know or associate with, our comfort levels, or even our family traditions. Being able to acknowledge another person's perspective doesn't mean that we're compromising our own values or our own beliefs. It just means that we understand that solutions and decisions are compromised from a variety of angles. And my path hasn't been like yours, and your path hasn't been like mine. And I can't judge where your comfort level is, and I can't judge how you look at a situation, and I hope that you don't judge the way that I look at mine. And I personally believe that when we start judging each other's perspectives or points of view or comfort levels, it makes it more difficult to move forward. It's important to remember that we've all traveled different paths, and we all have different values and beliefs that we bring to the table. And the Lakeshore School District is lucky to have such a wide range of perspectives. We have a fantastic district full of people who want the best for this school and for the students who go here. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Renee Donarski, and then our last speaker tonight will be Michael Logan. Ms. Donarski?
I just wanted to say congratulations to the HOSA success in February at the state competition where 4 senior students were in attendance, and congratulations to the robotics team for advancing from districts to the state competition this upcoming weekend with the chance at Worlds next weekend.
Very good. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Beckrow, but I'd like to yield my time.
Thank you, sir. Okay, that's everybody. And I think that's the last item on our agenda for tonight. So, any further discussion? If not, I'll accept the motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Have a good night, everybody. Thank you.